Congress is about to drive us over the cliff again. The world's going to end, and on Wednesday there will be a government shutdown unless they can do something. It is unlikely, however, they will be able to get anything done because unlike back in March when this same drama happened and we passed the continuing resolution to keep spending levels even, this time Chuck Schumer seems to have veered to the left and listened to the progressives of his party. They have refused to agree to the stopgap measure offered by Republicans to extend, again, federal funding into November. So the Republicans have offered what they call a clean continuing resolution. It just extends funding at the levels that were actually established under President Biden, according to my research, for 7 more weeks so that there can be more negotiations. But in exchange for votes to keep the government open this time, Democrats are demanding a renewal of Obamacare subsidies, more money for Medicaid, and a reversal of spending cuts from the Big Beautiful Bill. In total, an additional $1.5 trillion in permanent spending to keep the government open this time. That's a calculation by National Review. New York Times says it's $1 trillion, but what's $500 billion here or there, guys? All right. Without the Democrats backing, Tom was like, well, don't we have the majority? Why can't we just stop them? No, they only have a narrow majority in the Senate, will not be able to muster the 60 votes they need to push through the continuing resolution. Earlier,
just to help people understand that, like we had that big, one big beautiful bill, which was a reconciliation bill, which basically said we want to amend an existing budget, and you only need a majority vote for that. But to pass the actual budget itself, if there is a filibuster, which there would be, you need 60 votes in the Senate. So a simple majority isn't going to get the job done.
Correct. And so what we're seeing here is an imminent government shutdown. There's more details there, but to get to the impact of this, which is where it gets interesting, earlier this week we got this memo that was given to Politico from Russ Vought's Office of Management and Budget. Did I get that right, or is it Budget Management?
Office of Management and Budget, Russ Vogt. That's how
the OMB, Russ Vogt. And he's basically upping the stakes. So the Office of Management and Budget ramping up preparations. If Congress does not pass a continuing resolution in time, said the memo, many federal programs could face immediate disruption. But this time, instead of just giving them a paid vacation, a furlough, which is what usually happens, he's asking for plans from these different offices for permanent reduction in force notices.
Layoffs, baby.
Oh, they're thousands. Because we cannot allow this to derail the Trump administration's priorities, one of which is DOGE, if you would remember DOGE from back in the day. Haven't heard a lot about it lately, but so this would apply to all employees who are tied to budget lines that are not permanently in place. So there's a lot of flexibility here. Stephen Miller went on the Ingram show to talk about this strategy a little bit more, but we're definitely looking at.
I think I just want to help
Go for it
a little bit on this. I mean, so I remember when we had the shutdown back in 2013, where Republicans wanted to shut down the government because they wanted to fight Obamacare.
Yeah.
Okay, but the problem with it was, Democrats controlled everything. And so what could Republicans do? And Ted Cruz was like, but we're going to shut it down. And what? Eventually the government's going to get funded. So I like this idea that, well, you can't pass it. If you hold the House, then you can shut everything down. You can't. So ultimately it just didn't work. And they didn't have you didn't have enough cards. You weren't playing them well enough. And what ended up happening is, shocker, President Obama's signature legislation, Obamacare, was not stopped through a government shutdown. Duh. And so the government continued getting funding. But see, when the government was shut down, when Obama did that shutdown, when that shutdown happened, Obama put the screws on it and he made it painful. And so they actually spent money to ward off the national monuments so that, veterans couldn't go see the World War II,
Yeah.
It's outdoors. You don't need anyone there. Why would you thwart them from going there? But again, he wanted to maximize the pain and can't go
and blame Republicans
and blame Republicans for everything. Well, guess what? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And now you're just going to give Russ Vogt permission to be like, I guess we don't have any funding. We're going to have to lay off tons of workers. Democrats are just really upset at what Trump is doing on immigration. And they think if we can just shut the government down, then we shut down funding for ICE. And they think that they can do the same thing, and they're just as powerless to be able to do it. You don't have the votes, and so I think this is going to end very badly for him. And if Schumer's smart, the first round, what'll happen is the first round of layoffs will come off, and then Schumer will rush to Washington to get a budget passed to prevent OMB and Russ Vogt from doing a lot more of this stuff.
So you think it will get shut down?
I mean, there's what we have, 40 hours. I mean,
down to 40 hours.
But
the Senate has to pass. The House passed the bill already, so the Senate just has to pass it.
Okay, so I know you're saying this is dumb, and I think it's dumb too. But who is advising Democrats on this? Why is it good for so donations for individual ones?
There's no leader.
I like Ted Cruz a lot, okay, but I remember thinking in 2013 when he was like, "Let's shut down the government over Obamacare." I'm like, it's not going to work. And everyone's like, we just got to be brave. And it's like, no, you're being dumb. Stop it. I love you, but no, shut up. Dumb. That's what AOC is doing on her side. She's like, we got to shut it down. And Schumer's like, oh my gosh, you're such an idiot. Shut up. But he can't, because he's worried about her primarying him for the Senate race.
She's polling ahead of him right now for the primary.
Right.
I checked it this morning. She's ahead of him.
So he's in between a rock and a hard place. And other Democrats, that's the whole thing. Gavin Newsom says we got to fight, and so,
that's the tone of the party.
So
now Gavin Newsom, the way Gavin Newsom's fighting is by doing a bunch of lawsuits, which may or may not succeed, and he can blame Trump judges if they fail.
Well, actually, many haven't. So,
but this shutdown fight it's like a lose-lose for Democrats.
So maybe this is instructive for just like understanding politics more broadly. Like there isn't if you're doing game theory, like this isn't for Schumer and the Democrats as a whole, like a positive move. Like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't
I have no
effectively
idea why
win.
This
but there's really more. It might make sense for individual members of the Democratic Party because they have the luxury of kind of shouting radical from the sidelines in a way that benefits their poll numbers.
You are getting it, my friend. You are getting it. AOC is like, she has nothing to lose, right? Because if somehow miraculously the government gets shut down for a long time and she could become the hero. And we stopped ICE because, Trump, answered every one of our demands or whatever.
Right.
But if she fails, then who does she get to blame? The moderate Democrats who aren't fighting.
Right.
Shaheen and Fetterman.
So is this also helpful for
Schumer.
Understanding on both sides of the political aisle as well? Because I know a lot of people get frustrated with Mike Johnson and John Thune because they're speakers and they don't get to say. I know a lot of people really like who's the guy from Kentucky, Thomas Massey. Like he basically has the luxury of getting to play that ball, which helps his popularity, but might not exactly get things done in Congress. Like this probably happens on both sides, I imagine.
Right, and Rand Paul's like that too as the senator from Kentucky. But like that's what I'm saying. Like, we had a lot of bad rhino leaders in the Republican Party for a long time. We had Paul Ryan, Kevin McCarthy, a lot of these guys. Mike Johnson is one of the better speakers we've had in a while, just in terms of where he sits on the political spectrum. It's pretty darn conservative. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, like, we have, like, in the Senate, we have 53 Republicans, but 2 of them are pro-abortion, lefties, and they vote for us like every once in a while, so like we don't have a big majority. And I hate to say it, but it's like, we need to win the country over a little bit more on some of these issues. It's going to take some time because people aren't used to a different way. They get their media, they get everything they learn from the, mainstream media, and they think, oh, this is what we're
I think but maybe that's what I'm getting at, which you might not think is as interesting as I do because it's all internal for you. But this is more like the gears of power. People might not understand the gears of power. Another good example of this might be like whenever they put up a bill and they load it with, say, 3-4 other things, and it's the first thing's really bad and you can't vote for it, so people vote against it. But then like, oh, you voted against funding for cancer for children. That's voted
the headline.
Against, and that eventually trickles down to people, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person's the worst person ever. But then they don't.
Well, that's why, in fact, what they've started to do over the last 15 years is that they don't have a bill where they just basically don't allow you to do amendments. They don't want you to vote on individual provisions precisely because they're worried about someone plucking at one little vote you made and running an entire ad campaign and getting you kicked out of office for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, that what that does though is we have, I mean, this country that we have now, it's It's frustrating that all that Congress does now is basically pass a budget. And all lawmaking comes from presidential executive orders. It's not just Trump. It's been that way for the last three presidents. So lawmaking is done by executive order. It's fought in the courts, and that's just a crappy system. But it's because politicians all realized, all the guys we elected to the House and to the Senate realized, well, I'm going to have to make some unpopular votes. So let's just allow the filibuster to make it impossible to have any new laws, basically. I mean, the Lake and Riley Act was sort of a miracle. Like, laws just don't get passed anymore. It's all just budgets. And then budgets themselves, it's easy to say, well, those insiders worked in the room, the fat cats, the cigar smoke room, and they put this budget together, and I hate it, but I have no other choice. Well, you do have a choice. You could just say, I want to offer amendments. But you don't want to, because you realize you might get bad TV ads against you. So again, I mean, we have the system we have for a reason, until we demand more accountability from our lawmakers.
Yeah, because it's frustrating to me. It seems like it's just become kind of a social media competition with senators and in Congress. It's like, well, I got to get my clips during my committee hearings where nothing comes out of from my donors.
No one's listening.
To then, and then I'm going to offer myself. I'm going to offer no surface area for attack, because I'm not going to vote for anything. I'm just going to, like you said, do budget passes. And it's like weird. I feel like almost everyone kind of understands that at this point, that most Congress people are pretty useless. You know what I mean? And then they're all kind of helping each other out basically by not allowing attack on any of them, so they can kind of stay in their club and cash their paycheck and get insider trading information for their stocks. But then all right, pass a law. Like, there's no pushback on Trump at all. There's no pushback on Biden at all back in it. Like, it just, the game now. And I think Trump actually really smartly understood this with the Supreme Court, was like, Supreme Court is where the money is. And if you look at all that's been handed down, 6-3, 6-3, 6-3, it's like everything I wanted to do, handed down 6-3. It's like, whether or not you think that's the ideal system or how it should be, it's like kind of beside the point. This is where we are right now. You need to act and what's effective. No one gets that better than Trump.
And we got a little over a year before we have the midterms. And that means, the razor thin majority in the House. What happens if Democrats take the House? Then immediately they roll into impeachment. Maybe they shut down the government again because they want to cut off funding for ICE. There's going to be protracted battles there. The idea of getting anything that we did in the last reconciliation bill, like extending the Trump tax cuts, expanding child tax credit, that stuff not happening anymore. That's all frozen. And if the Democrats, pick up several Senate seats, look, I said this, we have 53 Republicans in the Senate, but there's 2 of them who are pro-board. So if you lose 1 seat, suddenly you don't have a pro-life majority anymore. And so any person that goes up for any sub-cabinet post, any, some judge for the Third Circuit or whatever, all those things, any conservative with a decent track record, good luck getting through the Senate, even if it's a Republican Senate, if you've got such a thin majority. And hey, I love Clarence Thomas, I love Sam Alito. Those guys are getting old. What happens if we have a Supreme Court vacancy? So these things matter. We're going to be, you got it. I mean, it's not too early to be thinking about the midterms, brother.
Yeah.
100%.
It's nice to understand the game.